Cab Story 1. Nestled deep in the Alaskan wilderness lies a remote valley known as the Grizzly Maze. Renowned for its stunning scenery and teeming population of grizzly bears, the valley attracts adventurers, researchers, and photographers alike. But its beauty is matched by its dangers, and those who enter must do so with both caution and respect. On August 15, 2017, wildlife photographers Emily Carter and Jason Miller embarked on a journey into the maze, hoping to capture breathtaking images of its iconic inhabitants. What began as a professional expedition turned into a terrifying ordeal, when nature and a formidable apex predator put their lives to the ultimate test. Emily Carter, 29, was a seasoned wildlife photographer from Boulder, Colorado. Known for her meticulous planning and a portfolio that graced the covers of leading magazines, she had always dreamed of photographing grizzlies in their natural habitat. Her partner for the trip, Jason Miller, 34, hailed from Anchorage, Alaska, and shared her passion. Jason was an experienced backcountry guide and photographer with a particular interest in bear behavior. Together, they made an ideal team for such a daring venture. The pair had been planning their trip to the Grizzly Maze for months. Their goal was to document the bear's complex social dynamics during the salmon run. Despite warnings from locals about the area's unpredictable weather and maze-like terrain, they felt confident in their preparation. Armed with high-end camera equipment, bear spray, and a satellite phone, they set out early on the morning of August 15th, guided by Jason's expertise and Emily's determination. The Grizzly Maze was aptly named. A network of narrow trails wound through dense vegetation, towering trees, and steep ridges, creating a labyrinth outdoorsmen cosmen could find disorienting. The valley's geography made it an ideal habitat for grizzlies, offering abundant food and secluded areas for rest. As Emily and Jason hiked deeper into the maze, they marveled at the sheer beauty of the landscape. Sunlight filtered through the trees, illuminating the mist rising from a nearby stream. The first signs of the bears came in the form of massive paw prints in the mud and claw marks on tree trunks. They spotted their first grizzly from a safe distance, a female with 2 cubs fishing in the river. The pair kept their distance, using telephoto lenses to capture the scene without disturbing the animals. Their excitement grew as they moved further into the valley, encountering more bears in the process. By mid-afternoon, dark clouds began to gather on the horizon. Jason, experienced in Alaskan weather, quickly realized that a storm was imminent. "We should start heading back," he suggested, concern creeping into his voice. Emily, reluctant to leave so soon, agreed but asked for just a few more minutes to photograph a large male grizzly perched on a fallen log. Jason reluctantly agreed but kept a close eye on the sky. Within minutes, the storm descended with ferocity. Rain poured down in sheets, and the wind howled through the trees, making visibility almost impossible. The trails, already difficult to navigate, turned into slick, muddy paths. As the storm intensified, they realized they were no longer sure of their location. Amid the chaos, Emily and Jason became aware of a different danger. Over the sound of the storm, they heard a low, guttural growl. Freezing in their tracks, they turned to see a massive male grizzly emerging from the underbrush. The bear, soaked from the rain, looked even more formidable than usual. It stood its ground, its posture rigid and aggressive, a clear sign that they had entered its territory. Jason immediately motioned for Emily to stay calm and back away slowly. They knew the rules: don't run, don't make sudden movements, and don't turn your back on the bear. Emily followed his lead, gripping her bear spray tightly. The grizzly, however, was not retreating. Instead, it took a step closer, its eyes locked on them. Jason spoke in a calm, steady voice, trying to de-escalate the situation. "Hey, bear, easy now. We're leaving." His words seemed to have little effect. The bear let out a deep huff, a warning sign that it was feeling threatened. The pair continued to back away, but the uneven terrain made it difficult to move quickly or quietly. Suddenly, the bear charged. The grizzly's charge was a blur of muscle and speed, and Emily barely had time to react. Jason yelled loudly and unleashed a burst of bear spray, creating a cloud of pepper mist in the bear's path. The grizzly stopped short, shaking its head and growling in irritation. The spray had worked. but only temporarily. The bear retreated a few steps, then began circling them, clearly agitated. The pair found themselves cornered against a steep embankment, the rain and mud making escape nearly impossible. Jason kept the bear spray at the ready while Emily reached for the satellite phone to call for help. To their dismay, the storm had rendered the device useless. They were on their own. As the bear circled closer, Jason spotted a cluster of fallen trees that could serve as a makeshift barrier. He whispered to Emily to move slowly toward the spot, never taking his eyes off the bear. Once behind the logs, they huddled together, using the natural barricade for protection. For the next several hours, the bear remained nearby, pacing and growling. The storm showed no signs of letting up, and the cold began to seep into their bones. Emily and Jason took turns keeping watch, their nerves stretched to the breaking point. Every rustle in the underbrush, every shadow in the rain, sent waves of fear through them. Jason tried to keep their spirits up. "We've come this far," he said. "We just need to wait it out. The bear will move on eventually." Emily nodded, though her hands trembled as she clutched her camera, a futile attempt to distract herself from the situation. As night fell, the bear finally began to retreat, disappearing into the darkness. The pair remained vigilant, knowing it could return at any moment. Exhausted but determined, they decided to stay put until daylight, when they could navigate more safely. When dawn broke, the storm had subsided, leaving the forest drenched but eerily quiet. Emily and Jason cautiously emerged from their hiding spot, scanning the area for any sign of there. Satisfied that it was gone, they began their trek out of the maze, using the rising sun as a guide. Every step was a challenge, the mud clinging to their boots and the maze-like terrain confusing their sense of direction. Despite the difficulties, they pressed on, driven by the knowledge that survival was within reach. After several grueling hours, they finally emerged from the Grizzly maze, battered but alive. Emily Carter and Jason Miller's encounter with the grizzly in the maze was a harrowing reminder of nature's raw power. Though they left the valley shaken, their resilience and teamwork allowed them to survive an experience that could have ended very differently. Their story highlights the delicate balance between humans and wildlife and the respect that must guide every interaction. As Emily later reflected, the Grizzly Maze is a place of incredible beauty and danger. It reminded me that we're visitors in the wild, and we must tread carefully, knowing that we're sharing space with creatures far more powerful than ourselves. For adventurers who dare to explore the untamed corners of the world, the tale of Emily and Jason serves as both an inspiration and a cautionary lesson, a testament to the enduring spirit of survival in the face of nature's greatest challenges. Story 2. The Arctic during winter is a land of unrelenting darkness, where the sun does not rise for months and temperatures drop to lethal extremes. In this desolate environment, survival depends on preparation, teamwork, and vigilance. For a small research team stationed at an isolated outpost in northern Greenland, the darkness of December 2019 became the backdrop to a harrowing struggle for survival when they encountered an apex predator, a starving polar bear. What began as a routine field study devolved into a terrifying tale of endurance, strategy, and loss. The team consisted of 4 members: Dr. Olivia Reyes, the leader, and a climatologist, Mark Hansen, an engineer, Rachel Kim, a biologist, and Liam O'Connor, a logistics expert. Their mission was to study the effects of climate change on Arctic sea ice. Based at Camp Polaris, a remote station roughly 200 miles from the nearest settlement, they worked in shifts, braving the frigid cold to collect data from sensors placed across the ice. Though experienced in Arctic conditions, the perpetual night presented unique challenges. Navigating the frozen wasteland under the faint glow of the aurora borealis was both disorienting and nerve-wracking. Yet the team was well prepared, or so they believed. They had been warned about polar bears. The sea ice diminished. The bears' hunting grounds were shrinking, leaving many desperate and aggressive. Each member of the team was trained in bear safety, and they carried flares, firearms, and bear deterrents. Still, in the Arctic, where conditions are as hostile as the wildlife, even the best-laid plans can unravel. On December 5th, 2019, as Olivia and Rachel ventured out to check a sensor 2 miles from camp, they noticed fresh tracks in the snow, large, unmistakable paw prints. A polar bear had been in the area. Olivia radioed back to Mark and Liam, advising them to stay alert and secure the camp. The two women hurried to complete their task, their headlamps slicing through the pitch-black night. The sense of being watched was inescapable. Every sound, the crunch of snow underfoot, the distant crack of ice seemed amplified in the eerie silence. Returning to camp, they found Mark and Liam already on edge. The bear had circled closer, leaving tracks near the perimeter. Though they hadn't spotted the animal, its presence was clear. The team double-checked their defenses, setting up additional floodlights and motion sensors. That night, sleep came uneasily, as the growling Arctic wind carried with it a deeper, primal unease. The bear made its first appearance on the night of December 6th. Liam was on night watch, scanning the perimeter from the warmth of the observation station. At 2:47 a.m., the motion sensors triggered an alarm. The bear was emaciated, its ribs visible even through its thick fur. Hunger had driven it toward the camp, and desperation made it fearless. It prowled around the floodlit perimeter, testing the barriers. Liam sounded the alarm, waking the others. The team gathered nervously, watching the bear through binoculars. It clawed at the walls of their supply shed, where they stored food and fuel. Mark fired a warning shot into the air, the crack of the rifle echoing across the ice. The bear paused but did not flee. Instead, it paced back and forth, eyeing the camp with a chilling determination. The first attack came the following evening. Mark and Liam had ventured out to secure the shed after spotting signs that the bear had attempted to dig under it. As they worked, the bear appeared suddenly, emerging from the darkness with shocking speed. Liam barely had time to shout a warning before the bear charged. Mark fired his rifle, but the shot missed in the chaos. The bear swiped at Liam, knocking him off balance. His screams echoed as the bear dragged him into the shadows. The remaining team members were paralyzed with shock. Olivia, regaining her composure, fired a flare into the air, illuminating the scene momentarily. The bear, startled by the light, released Liam and retreated into the night. Olivia and Rachel rushed to drag him back to the safety of the station. Liam was alive but badly injured. The bear's claws had left deep gashes on his leg, and his hypothermia risk was high due to prolonged exposure. The team worked quickly to stabilize him, but they knew their situation had become dire. The bear now saw the camp as a source of food and did not leave. Over the next 2 days, it circled relentlessly, testing their defenses and waiting for opportunities to strike. The team was trapped, unable to call for help as a snowstorm knocked out their satellite communications. With Liam unable to walk, Olivia, Mark, and Rachel took turns keeping watch. The tension was unbearable. Every sound outside, every creak of the ice, every gust of wind set their nerves on edge. The bear grew bolder, attacking the walls of the supply shed and attempting to break into the station. The team's food supplies were dwindling, and they knew that without outside help they couldn't last long. On December 9th, Olivia proposed a plan. They would use their snowmobiles to lure the bear away from the camp. Rachel and Mark volunteered for the risky task. Armed with flares and firearms, they hoped to lead the bear far enough from the station to give Olivia and Liam a chance to fortify their defenses and send a distress signal. As Rachel and Mark roared off into the night, the bear followed, its hunger driving it to pursue the noise. The plan seemed to work temporarily. Olivia used the brief window of calm to rig the station with additional barriers and restart the satellite phone. She managed to send a distress signal, but she knew it could take days for help to arrive. Rachel and Mark returned, exhausted but unharmed. They had successfully drawn the bear several miles away, but it was only a matter of time before it found its way back. The final confrontation came on December 11th. The bear returned, more aggressive than ever. It attacked the station directly, smashing through the outer barriers. The team retreated to the station's reinforced core, their last line of defense. With no other options, Olivia and Mark prepared to make a stand. Armed with rifles and bear spray, they confronted the bear as it broke through the final barrier. The confined space gave them little room to maneuver. but their combined efforts finally drove the bear away. Injured and defeated, the predators appeared into the darkness, leaving the team shaken but alive. Help arrived 2 days later, on December 13, 2019. Liam was airlifted to a hospital, where he began a slow recovery. The team's ordeal became a stark reminder of the dangers of working in the Arctic and the desperation faced by its wildlife. The polar bear, driven to aggression by hunger, was not a villain but a victim of its changing environment. Their story serves as a cautionary tale for anyone venturing into the wilderness. Preparation, respect, and vigilance are not optional, they are the price of survival. Story 3. The Appalachian Trail is a symbol of solitude, adventure, and the untamed beauty of the natural world. Stretching over 2,100 miles through the eastern United States, it attracts hikers from around the globe, all seeking to challenge themselves amidst its rugged terrain. But as awe-inspiring as the trail may be, it is not without its dangers. For Matthew Grant, a seasoned solo backpacker from Ashland, Virginia, the Appalachian Trail became the stage for a fateful and tragic encounter. In October 2022, Matthew embarked on a section hike through one of the trail's most secluded stretches in western North Carolina. The area, known for its dense forest canopy and winding paths, was also home to black bears, normally shy creatures, but capable of unpredictability, especially when they felt threatened. What began as a routine trek for an experienced hiker turned into a haunting mystery, leaving behind lessons about the thin line between respect for nature and its inherent risks. Matthew Grant, 37, was no stranger to the wilderness. Over the years, he had hiked numerous sections of the Appalachian Trail, amassing knowledge and skills that made him confident in the backcountry. In late September 2022, Matthew planned his latest adventure, a solo backpacking trip through a 60-mile stretch of the Rui Plateau that passed through the Nantahala National Forest. He was drawn to this area for its remoteness and natural beauty. Known as the Emerald Corridor by hikers, this region featured steep climbs, cascading streams, and abundant wildlife. Matthew meticulously prepared for his journey. He packed lightweight but essential gear, including a bear canister, a whistle, pepper spray, and a GPS locator. To those who knew him, Matthew's thorough planning made the events that followed even more baffling. Matthew started his trek on October 2nd, 2022, at the trailhead near Stecco Gap. The weather was crisp, with the vibrant hues of autumn painting the landscape. He also sent cheerful text messages to his sister, Caroline Grant, describing breathtaking views and encounters with deer and wild turkeys. However, on the evening of October 5th, the update stopped. Initially, Caroline thought little of it, assuming Matthew had reached an area with poor signal coverage. But as hours turned into days, concern grew. On October 7th, when Matthew missed his scheduled check-in after reaching the end of his route, Caroline contacted the authorities. A search and rescue operation was launched the following day. Teams of volunteers, rangers, and canine units combed the trail, focusing on the area where Matthew's GPS signal was last recorded. The dense forest and rugged terrain made the search challenging, but the responders pressed on, driven by the hope that Matthew had simply become disoriented or injured and was waiting to be found. By October 9th, searchers discovered Matthew's abandoned campsite along a remote section of the trail. His tent was pitched, his gear neatly arranged, and his food secured in a bear canister, evidence of his experience and adherence to backcountry protocols. But Matthew was nowhere to be found. Tracks in the vicinity suggested the presence of a black bear, which immediately heightened concerns. Wildlife experts warned that bears, though typically non-aggressive, could become dangerous if they felt cornered, were protecting cubs, or were driven by hunger as winter approached. On October 11th, 2022, after nearly a week of searching, a team came across a bear den about a mile from Matthew's campsite. The area was marked by signs of recent activity, scattered vegetation, claw marks on nearby trees, and the unmistakable scent of decay. Inside the den, they found Matthew's remains. The discovery was heartbreaking for the searchers and devastating for Matthew's family, who had held out hope for a different outcome. Based on the evidence, wildlife officials concluded that Matthew had likely encountered the bear while hiking off-trail, possibly in search of water or firewood. The exact sequence of events remained unclear, but claw marks on nearby trees and disturbed ground suggested a defensive reaction from the bear. While the tragedy raised questions, it also underscored the unpredictability of wilderness encounters, even for experienced adventurers. For his family, friends, and the hiking community, Matthew's story is a painful reminder of the thin line between adventure and risk. It reinforces the importance of vigilance, preparation, and respect for the wild, lessons that, if he were here, Matthew would likely advocate himself. While the wilderness offers solace and inspiration, it also requires humility and caution. Let Matthew's story be a guide to all who venture into the wild, ensuring that his legacy is one of learning, growth, and a deeper connection to the land he so loved. If you found this video insightful, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for the latest videos on wildlife safety, survival tips, and fascinating animal stories. Stay safe, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.